Now you can see the point prostaglandin we have already discussed, but once again, because what about prostaglandin? तो सबसे first जो important point आता है, group of natural occurring compound inside human body or other mammals also, right? So this is a natural unsaturated hydroxy based compound, right? Sometimes this is unsaturated hydroxy based compound. Sometimes it is unsaturated hydroxy ketone, or sometimes it is unsaturated carboxylic acid also, right? So these are mainly the category of compound or prostaglandin compound, right? I already told produced from prostate gland of all animal cells, right? So prostate glands, it is produced by prostate gland of all animal cell, especially mammals, right? तो जो mammals होती है उसकी जो prostate gland होती है उससे normally ये क्या होता है produce होता है, and this is called prostaglandin, right? Now after that our discussion, first time it is reported in accessory gentile gland, right? So first time it is isolated or it is reported from gentile gland, right, in animal. If you want large, because it is medicinally very useful, so large amount of this compound required, right? So how do we separate this compound, and from where we separate this compound? So ship vascular glands of ship, right? Large amount of prostaglandin exist in in the vascular gland of ship, right? So if you want to isolate or if you want to extract this compound, so then you need to take vascular glands of sheep, right? And richest source in human being, our seminal plasma, right? Our seminal plasma, where 50 to 60 mg per ml exists this prostaglandin, right? So this is also important point, right? From where we can extract it, right? And where the richest amount or highest amount of this compound, right? Now after that, the discussion on nomenclature, basically we focus on their parent skeleton. Parent skeleton of this compound is saturated cyclopentane. Parent skeleton of this compound is saturated cycloketone. It means 20 carbon exist along with, right, a cyclic pentane, right, and the compound is saturated. Then this is called prostate. Then this is called prostate, right? And prostate is a parent skeleton or parent structure of our prostaglandin, right? And if there is carboxylic acid, then that is called prostanoic acid, right? So these are two important compound. One is called parent skeleton, right, where cyclopentane and C20 saturated compound, right, that is called prostane. So this is the compound, you can see this is the compound cyclopentane here, right? And then number of 1 2 3 4 nomenclature. If a group exists at this position, then we can say, right, if the group exists in this position, then we can say 2, suppose that here OS, then all, right, then 3 all, 4 5 6 8. So this is the way of nomenclature of prostaglandin, right? First position, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8 and 12, right? 8 to 12 are part of cyclopentane, right? And then rest you can see, right? So this is basic or parent skeleton of prostate, right? Now after that, next one, this is prostanoic acid. If there is carboxylic acid, if there is carboxylic acid, then this is called prostanoic acid. Then this is called prostanoic acid. Now after that, our discussion on classification of prostaglandin. Now our discussion on classification of prostaglandin. So two compounds that are very important, PGE, prostaglandin E, which is soluble in ether, and prostaglandin F, which is soluble in phosphate buffer, right? It means not in acidic or not in basic medium, right? So it's required buffer, right? And you people already know about buffer solution, right? So in buffer solution, FG, PGF soluble, and PZE is soluble in ether, right? So this is about solubility of some prostaglandin compound, right? And you can see here the structure of different prostaglandin, right? The prostaglandin A, prostaglandin B, C, D, E, F, right? I already told prostaglandin A, it means left hand side double bond. If right hand side, then prostaglandin B. If bottom side, then this is called prostaglandin C, you can see. And after that, if the functional group change, right? Here double bond O, it is keto unsaturated compound. Here keto along with hydroxy, right? Hydroxy upper side and keto this side, right? So then this is called prostaglandin D. If keto upper side and OH downside, then this is called prostaglandin E. And if both side hydroxy group, then this is called prostaglandin F, right? We had already discussed. Now, after that, prostaglandin H. If we talk about prostaglandin H, so there is a, you can see, this is peroxide. This is peroxide ring, you can see, right? OO, 2O connected. So this is called peroxide. So if there is a peroxide bond, right, in cyclopentane, then this is called prostaglandin H, right? So this is also a class of prostaglandin. Now, after that, prostaglandin E and prostaglandin E2, right? There are two class, right? It depends on the position of double bond. Either it is upper side or it is downside, right? So if it is upper side, then this is called prostaglandin E2, right? This is the structure of prostaglandin E2, right? And if downside this side, right, then this is called prostaglandin E1, right? So in this way, we can classify prostaglandin E in two category, right? Now prostaglandin A, B, C, D, E, F, right? How they are connected or how they are related to each other, and if you want to convert one compound into another, then how it is possible, right? So what types of chemical relationship between different types of prostaglandin? So you can see here, right? So this is prostaglandin E, as we already told about prostaglandin E, right? Their structure. This is basically structures C double bond O upper side and OH downside, right? So then this is prostaglandin E, right? Prostaglandin E. If we reduce prostaglandin E, right, with sodium borohydride or lithium aluminum hydride, right? So then they convert into prostaglandin F, right? Alpha and prostaglandin F beta, right? Now the point is, if this bond, upper bond, because here, as I already told, keto group convert into hydroxy group, because here keto group convert into hydroxy group, right? And if the bond is alpha type, if the bond is alpha type, right? You know about alpha bond, beta bond. We have already discussed stereochemistry, right? The types of bonding, alpha type bonding and beta type bonding, right? So if it is alpha type bond, if the bond between OH and carbon alpha type, then this is called PZF alpha. And if the bond is beta type, then this is called PZF beta, right? So this is below the plane and this is above the plane, right? If below the plane or beta type, sorry, alpha type, then this is called PGF alpha. And if above the plane, right, or beta type, then this is called PZFB. Alpha and beta bond we had already discussed in case of cyclohexane, right? Now after that, next discussion, right? If dehydration in presence of acid, if dehydration in presence of acid, then H2O remove from left hand side and then double bond come at left hand side, and this is called PGA, right? Prostaglandin A. Then this is called prostaglandin A, right? And if dehydration takes place in presence of base, then H2O remove from this side, right? And double bond come at this position, right? And then they convert into PZB. Then they convert into prostaglandin B, right? So there is two, either the condition is acidic or the condition is base. If acidic condition, then PZA, right? Prostaglandin A. And if, right, second or B condition, if there is OH group or alkaline medium, then they convert into prostaglandin B, right? So there are two paths, one for first A path and then there is B path. A path for A prostaglandin and B path for prostaglandin B, right? Now after that, this is the point related to physiological effect of prostaglandin, which we had already discussed, right? The prostaglandin effect, physiologically, it affects so many part of our body, right? So we use prostaglandin as a medicines also, right? So you can see here, right? If we talk about the system, right? And then what types of prostaglandin use, right? And then what types physiological effect at that system, right? And then what about their clinical use, right? So one by one we can see here, right? If we talk about cardiovascular part, right? If we talk about heart, or if we talk about cardiovascular part, right? So it dilates blood vessels. It means it open blood vessels, right? It open blood vessels. And if there is a problem of clotting, or if there is a problem of blocking, right? So then it is very useful, right? Prostaglandin even is very useful, right? So it is used for treatment. You can see it is used for treatment of hypertension and congestive heart failure, right? The congestive heart failure or hypertension, if there is a problem, right? So then we can solve that problem with help of even prostaglandin, right? So even prostaglandin use as in this form, right? Now second problem is that, gastrointestinal treatment, right? If the problem related gastric, right, or intestinal problem, right, because of high secretion of acid, right, or highest secretion of acid, and then the acidity problem, right? So if we use prostaglandin E1, E2, and A, right? If we use this mixture, prostaglandin E1, E2, and A, right, then it is inhibit acid secretion. It means it reduce the rate of acid secretion inside our body, right? And then resolve the problem of gastric, right? And peptide ulcer also, right? So it means gastro related problem in our intestine we can resolve with help of these prostaglandins, right? So they are medicinally useful for gastric problem, right? Next you can see platelets, right? So platelets, if aggregation of platelets, or if accumulation of platelets, if they collect at any site, then there is a possibility of blood clotting, right? So if you want not blood clotting at any part of your body, right, so then you can use even D2 and prostaglandin, right, for resolve this problem, right? So you can see physiological effect, it inhibit platelets aggregation. It means it reduce platelets aggregation, or if there is no platelets aggregation, then reduce blood clotting, right? Then blood clotting formation, the process of blood clotting formation is reduced, and it means the blockage problem will resolve, right? And everywhere inside our body, right, blockage problem, if there is a blockage problem, then not proper flow of blood, right? And if not proper flow of blood, then different types of pain, right, inside our body, a different part, right? If there is a pain, it means maximum time the problem of blood clotting, right? Maximum time not proper flow of blood in that part, so there start pain, right? So it means it is useful for resolve this problem also, right? So this is about physiological effect of vitamin prostaglandin E1, D2, and prostaglandin, right? Now after that, next one, renal part also, right? Renal part, if there is a problem, right, so then we can use prostaglandin E2, right? It regulate renal blood flow, right? If there is no proper blood flow, right, if in our renal part no proper blood flow, right, so then for that we use prostaglandin E2, right? And then there is a proper or in controlled way blood flow, then in proper or in regulating way blood flow, then it is used for treatment of impaired renal function. It means if some problem, if some you can say that if some problem in our renal part, right, especially due to not proper blood flow, that will resolve if we use prostaglandin E2, right? So you can see there are so many use, right, of prostaglandin, right? Now reproductive, right, it is also important for reproductive part, right? Uterine or uterus, that is very important part for pregnancy, right? Now prostaglandin F2A, a means it may be alpha also, F2A and E2, right? If we use these two prostaglandin, then it stimulate uterine, it stimulate our uterine, right? And it is used for induction of labor and medical termination of pregnancy, right? So during pregnancy, if use these prostaglandin, then that is very useful for reproduction process, right, for pregnancy, especially for pregnancy, right? Now in respiration, if we talk about respiratory system, in present time respiration, you people already know, very important, right? So respiratory system, if there is no proper oxygen absorption, right, so then E1 and E2, prostaglandin E1 and E2 are very important, right? It relax our bronchial tissue, right? And bronchial tissue, they are very important tissue in our respiratory system, right? So then the problem related asthma, then the problem related oxygen inside our body also resolve, right? So bronchial tissue, right? If there is a problem in bronchial tissue related to absorption of oxygen or deficiency of oxygen, that can resolve when we use prostaglandin E1 and E2, right? So in this way, we can say at a different part of our body, then in this way, we can say at different part of our body, prostaglandin is useful, right? So many problems resolved by prostaglandin, different types of prostaglandin. Either it is related to respiration problem, asthma problem, it is related to our reproductive system, uterus, right, during pregnancy especially, right? Either it is related to, you can see, our renal part, if there is a problem due to not proper blood flow, right? So then we can there so many problems here are which we can resolve when we use prostaglandin. When we use prostaglandin, then we can resolve so many types of problem inside our body, right? Renal part also repair, right? If you want to repair renal part, if there is not proper blood circulation, right, so we can resolve that problem also, right? Platelets, as we had already discussed about platelets, right? So the problem of platelets aggregation we can resolve with help of uh, prostaglandins, right? So that there is no blood clotting problem, so that there is no blood clotting related problem, right? And blood clotting is one of the big problem inside human being, right? Because if blood clot, then there is a big problem, then there is a big problem. Now after that, you can see, right, cardiovascular system, right? If there is cardiovascular problem, right, so we can resolve that problem also, right? And if there is gastric related problem, so we can resolve that problem also, right? So in this way, different types of problems we can resolve with help of this, right? Now after that, next point about biogenesis. So you can see, what about biogenesis? So as I already told, if we talk about biogenesis, it means we are talking about how different types of prostaglandins, synthesized inside our body from, right, a normal compounds inside our body, right? So the point is, if you want different types of prostaglandin, or if your body want prostaglandin, right, so then different types of prostaglandin automatically inside our body, different types of machine inside our body, right? according to information from our brain, they can synthesize different types of compound which are required for our body, right? So the point is the compound prostaglandin is not stored in any tissue of our body, right? It is produced on demand. It is produced on demand, right? So if there is a demand, right, if there is some physiological stimuli, right, if our part of body required prostaglandin, right, so then on the basis of demand, different types of prostaglandin synthesized or biosynthesized inside our body, right? So now you can see phospholipase A activated when physiological stimuli, right? Then our phospholipase A activated, and that phospholipase A release a acid, and that acid is called arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid, right? So arachidonic acid, which is produced from phospholipase A, right? That is actually basic compound for synthesis of different types of phospholipids. Sorry, for different types of prostaglandins, right? So now what about their biogenesis process? You can see about their biogenesis process, right? So here this acid react with oxygen, sufficient amount of oxygen in our body, right? So then when they react with oxygen, then they convert into peroxide. Then they convert into peroxide, and peroxide like this compound, right? Indo-peroxide. Then there is Indo-peroxide. Then they convert into Indo-peroxide. So this compound convert into Indo-peroxide because, it is you can see it's like a cycloaddition reaction. It's like a cycloaddition reaction. So you can see this side, right, addition, right, these two part add, and then they convert into a cyclic compound. And from other side you can see oxygen attack. From other side your oxygen attack, and they convert into a peroxide compound, right? These two carbon connect, right, convert into pentacyclic ring, convert into pentacyclic ring, and here oxygen come, right? And it's look like a prostaglandin H. It's look like a prostaglandin H, right? Because peroxide, so it's like a prostaglandin H, right? So there, this types of carboxylic acid form. It is endoperoxide. It is called endoperoxide. Why it called endoperoxide? Because of endo means inside the ring, right? Peroxide, O-N-O. So it is called endoperoxide. Now this endoperoxide convert into different types of prostaglandin. It convert into different types of prostaglandin. For example, you can see, right, they can convert into prostaglandin E2. They can convert into prostaglandin E2, right? They can convert into prostaglandin F2 alpha, and they can convert into prostaglandin D2, right? So different types of prostaglandin produced from this endoperoxide, right? How you can see here, right? If the bond break, if this bond break, and at this part C double bond O, and at this part OH, then that is called prostaglandin E2. Then the structure like prostaglandin E2, right? And if this part, right, here OH and here also OH, right? If the bond break, then there is so many possibilities: C double bond O, C double bond O, right? OH, OH, right? And then OH, C double bond O, right? So in this way, you can see they convert into prostaglandin F, right? And if upper side OH and downside double bond O, then this is prostaglandin D2, right? So different compound produced from same intermediate, right, indo-peroxide, right? So this is the process inside our body, and this is our biogenesis of PZE2, PZD2, and PZF2, right? So how different types of prostaglandin biosynthesize inside our body. This is about that. This is about that. Now after that, synthesis. If we talk about synthesis, I have already told, if we talk about synthesis of prostaglandin E2 or prostaglandin F2 alpha, right? So very simple synthesis, right? Normally, because it is a synthesis of natural products, so right there is complexity also. But initial step is very simple, where we use a normal or simple compound, where we use a normal of or a simple compound. So you can see acrylate, right? When react with alkylated cyclopentadiene, right? So then there is a cycloaddition reaction also, right? Then there is cycloaddition reaction also, because this compound, work like a dienophile, and this compound work like a di, right? Like a Diels Elder reaction, right? It is double bond O here. There should be double bond O, right? Keto group and OR, right? So it is electron withdrawing group, so it behave like a electron deficient compound, right? And it behave like a electron rich compound, right? So then, this double bond attack at this part, right? And then they convert into this types of product, then they convert into this types of product. Here you can see, right? तो यहाँ पे जब this carbon and this carbon, right, ये दो carbon activate होंगे, तो then double bond come at this position, right? And these two are attached at these two carbon, right? Then you can see this carbon and this carbon, actually these two carbon, right? And this part C double bond OOR, this is C double bond OR, right? This is part, right? Now next, here double bond, it means this double bond, it means this double bond, right? And here you can see this OBN, right? So this is OBN, right? So this types of product form, right? And this reaction takes place in presence of